All right. Looks like I've got about 7 o'clock on the dot. I am on Eastern time, and all of you who are across the country on different time zones, hopefully it's the top of the hour wherever you are. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, my name is Derek Daniel. I am a board member on the Alumni Association board here at Guide Dogs for the Blind. So glad you could join us tonight for this webinar. We are discussing what the tech, and basically, we're talking about apps on the go tonight. You know, when we go and get our guide dogs or go through orientation and mobility training, it's so that we can get out and get moving a little bit better, a little bit faster, and get to our destinations. And so when we're out and doing that, there are lots of apps that we can use. Now, some of these will be travel apps, things like GPS and orientation, which we'll talk about. However, we're also going to talk about some apps that we might use just being out and about, walking, riding in a car, on a bus, something like that. So we're going to have lots of recommendations for different apps. And while you're part of this webinar, you can ask questions. As Deb said earlier, if you have a question, you can put it into the chat. We ask that you use that chat box as a question dumping ground. We're not necessarily using the chat box as a time to just chit chat with everybody. We encourage you to drop a question. And later on during the webinar, we're going to open it up for questions. So you can hit that raise hand button if you have a question you would like to ask on the microphone. And it's not just me tonight that you'll be talking to. I am joined by one of the preeminent blind YouTubers of our day. He's my good friend, and he hails from the YouTube channel The Blind Life. Well, please welcome tonight my good friend, Sam Seavey. Hi, Sam. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Hey, Derek. I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. So glad that you're here. Sam, I think you're a little quiet, so if you want to turn up your microphone a little bit while we're chatting here, that'd be awesome. Like I said, tonight we're talking about apps on the go. Now, some of these apps you may have heard of, and you're like, yeah, I use that app all the time. Some of these apps you may have never heard of, and you're like, I'd like to try that. And maybe it's an app you've heard of, but it's something a little bit different. We use it a little bit different in a different way. So whatever is going on tonight, we hope that you learn a little bit and maybe give you some new app to use. We are going to refer to one piece of hardware later on, but tonight's mostly about apps. And hopefully in the future, this will be What the Tech 1.0, and in the future we'll have, 2.0 or 1.6 or whatever software update we decide to give to this webinar. So we're excited all of you are here. Again, just a quick recap. If you're using the chat box, we encourage you to drop a question in there. And if you'd like to ask a question that you would like answered later on the microphone, you can raise a hand when we open it up for questions. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our list. And basically, we're just going to go through this with different categories. Sam, are you ready, my friend?
Yes. Can I tell you something funny real quick though?
Oh,
Just to
please do
start it
so.
off.
Yes.
Right. I was kind of laughing because right before we started, I was playing around with creating my avatar here on Zoom, which I've never done before, and I actually got stuck as you almost had an anamorphic talking cat as your co-host today for the entire video. I was able to figure out how to turn it off, but I got stuck for a few minutes there. So sorry about that.
Technology.
I know, and I'm supposed to be the expert too.
That's right. Yes, for those of you who are not familiar with Sam, he runs a YouTube channel called The Blind Life, where he does a lot about assistive technology. So we thought he'd be better at this. But, you
Well,
can't always
yeah,
get what you want.
you get what you pay for.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to run down the list. I'll pass it off to Sam here in a little bit. But first of all, we're going to start with music apps. Now, if you are out and about walking down the street, maybe you're sitting in a cafe, one of the things you want to do is listen to music. I love music. It's one of my passions. For those of you who know, I work with music at my church. So music is very important. The two apps we have listed here are Spotify and Apple Music. So, Sam, which do you use one of those services or another one?
I'm not much of a music guy. I know, I'm sorry. You're hating me even more, but I use everybody else in the family uses Spotify. I'll say that. Spotify is a
Yes.
big fan, big fans of Spotify in this household.
Absolutely. By the way, Sam, you're on here so that I look better. That's why you're here.
Well,
Uh,
it's working.
yes, I find Spotify. I use an iPhone. It's very accessible. There's a couple little quirks, but it's very accessible. And I find that Spotify works really well to provide me great recommendations. Apple Music is a good service. There is an Android app for that. Is that correct, Sam?
Yeah, there's Google Music. There's things like Stitcher, so there's plenty of options.
Yeah, absolutely. So when when you're out and about, like I said, when you're walking with your guide dog using that white cane, music can be great. Now, always be cautious if you're walking down the street and you've got headphones on. You want to be careful that you can hear your surroundings. Sam, this is a question we didn't talk about, but you have some bone conducting headphones. Is that correct?
I do. Yeah, yeah. In fact,
How,
I'm actually evaluating a bone conducting device right now.
Ooh, stay tuned to the Blind Life on YouTube. Got your plug in early, Sam. I'm very impressed. That's great.
Well, I'm curious if anybody listening or watching here wants to throw in the chat. What do you guys think about bone conducting headphones? I'm not 100% sold on them yet. The benefit, though, like you're saying, Derek, is that your ears are open, so you
Hmm.
stay aware of your surroundings, which for
Yes.
us walking around is can be crucial.
Hmm.
But aside from that, I'm not 100% sold on the bone conducting headphones.
Yeah, I've never really used them all that much. I prefer things to surround my ears, or
Mm,
I'm currently using the AirPods Pro. So yeah, but when it comes to music, I love to have those good headphones because I like the pump and bass and the high trebles and all that sort of thing. So yeah,
mhm,
lots of music app recommendations out there, and most of them so far have been very accessible, easy to use, and to navigate. Of course, Apple Music on the iPhone is built into the system, so it's very, very good, but Spotify is right up there. So, moving on down the list, of course, we have music apps that you can listen to music on. You want something else to listen to? You've got podcasts. Those are all the rage now. 10 years ago, if you'd said podcast, nobody would have had a clue what you were talking about, I don't think.
all right,
But
Grandpa.
now, that's right. But podcasts are all the rage. Of course, Spotify has podcasts. They're trying to be your one stop shop for music, podcasts, audiobooks, that sort of thing. Spotify has podcast, Apple Podcast, of course. I use an app called Overcast, and it's very accessible. They just rehauled it a couple of months ago, and it's very accessible, very good. Sam, are you a big podcast guy?
Uh, oh gosh, you're hitting me. You're making me sound terrible right from the beginning. No, I'm not much. Even though I have a podcast, the Blind Life podcast, available on all your favorite podcast platforms. I'm not much of a podcast person either. I do like a good one every now and then, but I'm more of an audiobook guy, and I know we're going to be talking about that here in a second. That's my
That is
jam.
true. Yes. So podcasts are awesome because you can get into a story. There's all kinds of ones. My wife really likes true crime podcasts.
Oh yeah.
I love kind of the social life and all kinds of different things, news. They're great. So if you have not gotten a podcast app, I encourage you try Overcast if you're on the iPhone. I'm sure that there's other ones on Android as well.
Mhm.
If you want to jump in and you're not super familiar with things, Spotify has a lot of great podcast recommendations. And like I said, it's very accessible as well. So you got music you're listening to, you got a podcast you're checking out. Maybe you want something, dive a little deeper into something. Maybe you're sitting at a cafe for a couple of hours getting some work done and you just want to dive into something. Well, that is where we're going to audiobooks. And that's what Sam mentioned earlier, audio books. Of course, Audible, that's the big one. That's the one, Amazon owns it. And so you can probably find most anything on Audible. They're wonderful. They have a great subscription service. I usually find Audible to be very accessible. Again, it has some quirks here and there depending on what update they're on, but for the most part, it's very accessible. And then, of course, on the iPhone, and I assume there's an Android app for this, but there's Bard, that is
Mhm.
BARD, the Braille and Audio Reading Download, Braille and Audio Reading Download. That is available through the National Library Service. Do you use Bard, Sam?
I do, yeah. I've been using Bard. Well, I've been using NLS since I was in middle school, but I've been
Mm.
using Bard as long as it's been out on mobile devices.
In middle school, is that when you were still in the one room cabin back in
Yeah,
middle school?
yeah. Barefoot, we had to walk.
Yeah. The National Library Service, if you're not familiar with that, you can go to loc.gov/NLS. That's loc.gov/NLS. It's Library of Congress. That'll give you more information about that service. If you are blind, have some reading issues, you can get all kinds of wonderful things there through that. So that is an app on the iPhone, I know for sure. It's wonderful. Then, of course, there's Bookshare. I don't use Bookshare personally. Do you use that, Sam?
No, no, I have never used it myself.
Yeah, I don't. I typically tend to swing into more mainstream. Of course, Bard, I use that as well, but Audible, and I'm giving another plug for Spotify here, but Spotify also has audiobooks now. And if you
Hmm.
are a premium subscriber, you can get a lot of them as part of your premium subscription. So I've listened to quite a few. Now, I will say this isn't part of accessibility, but you only get X amount of hours per month. So I was listening to a really long audiobook and it was like, and you're done for the month. I'm like, it's only the 15th. What am I going to do? So anyway, but there are audiobooks on Spotify. What's one that you use the most since you mentioned audiobooks, Sam? Do you use Bard the most or are there others?
I use Bard quite a bit. A lot of people don't know that YouTube actually has audiobooks available as well.
Hmm.
And if you do have the YouTube Premium, then you can shut your screen off and the audio still comes through.
Mm.
Just regular free YouTube, when you turn the screen off, the video stops. But premium,
Yeah.
it'll keep playing, so that's nice. And I also listen on my Android device. I use an audiobook player that's called Audiobook Player. It was very original. The
They
when they came up with that name,
they didn't spend a lot of time on the
genius,
research and development
genius.
on the name.
What are we going to call it, Bob? How about Audiobook Player? Genius. Um,
Genius.
and it works really well. I will often find MP3s online, maybe some of the older books that are out of the copyright,
Hmm.
and you can find them just. In fact, there's a website. It used to be called bookshouldbefree.com. I think they've changed the name, but if you search that, you can still find them, and you can just download MP3s, and I just throw them on my phone and listen to them through some type of media player, and it works great.
Nice. All right. So we've gone through music apps, podcast apps, and audiobook apps. Now, all of these fall in that area of, let's say, entertainment or education or information that you're taking in while you're out and about. Because there's a lot of times where we'll have some downtime. Maybe we're waiting for a bus. Maybe we're waiting for our ride. Maybe we go to a location and we had to get dropped off a little early for a doctor's appointment, something like that. So it's always good to have an app that will give you some information. Obviously, if you have an audiobook player with you, something like that, that would work as well. But so many of us use our smartphones these days, and this is a great way to, let's say, kill some time. Maybe you laugh, maybe you learn, maybe you just bang your head to your favorite music while you are waiting for whatever's going on. I know for me, I spend a lot of time sitting and waiting, and this is a good way to kill that time. Sam, would you say that's true for you at times as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're public transportation or paratransit network, you're sitting around
Mhm.
waiting for quite a while.
Absolutely. So these are some great ways to dive into some more great information, education, and entertainment. All right, we're going to head on down the list. And next we have GPS apps. Now, GPS apps fall into this category. It's going to help you get to your destination. Some of these are maybe blind specific, but some of these are not. So, right off the top, we've got Google Maps and Apple Maps. Now, Sam, are you a Google or an Apple Map person?
You know what? I carry around both phones generally, and so for me, it's whatever's working at the time. A
Mm.
couple years
Hmm.
ago, I was in Manhattan and I was trying to navigate, and Apple Maps was not working for some reason. My phone just could not get a good signal with all those tall buildings, so I had to jump over to Google Maps. But I've been in other locations where it was the opposite. So for me, it's whatever's working. They're both great. They both work pretty well. So whatever works the best at that time.
Yeah, I think accessibility is usually pretty good on both those apps. I know, especially on the iPhone. As far as Google Maps on Android, Sam, have you found it to be fairly accessible?
It's not bad. It's kind of similar where you run into not every aspect of the app is accessible. Uh, you
Mm.
know, using the map, navigating around on the map, that's a nightmare. But
Sure.
getting just the list of turn by turn navigation directions read out loud with your screen reader, that works fine. Searching for locations, that works fine. So yeah, parts of the app work pretty well.
Yeah. And of course, Apple Maps on the iPhone, that is fairly accessible. Again, maneuvering around the map may be a bit confusing, but for the most part, it'll get you there. We've used Apple Maps for, of course, my wife is driving, but walking around different places as well. We were also in Manhattan last year, and of course, using the maps to find the different transit opportunities and things like that. So, yeah, GPS app, Google, Apple Maps. Then Sam had mentioned this app, so I'm going to throw it to you, Sam, in just a second. It's called Lazarillo, and it
Hmm.
is an Android app. So, do you have experience with Lazarillo, Sam?
Yes, a little bit. Just testing it out. It works very similarly to the other GPS navigation apps, except that it was designed for visually impaired. So it has some pretty good accessibility. It has that feature where it will call out your current location. So if you're in a vehicle, if you're on a bus and you're driving along, it will, every time you come to like a cross street, it will announce that out loud to you. So you can kind of keep track of where you're going in real time, that's pretty nice.
That is excellent. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So Lazarillo, if you're interested on how to spell that, it's Lazarillo. That's Lazarillo, Lazarillo. The next one I have here is Oko. That's OKO. I believe I've tested out Oko. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. Is this the one that helps you see when the lights are changing on the crosswalk?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I thought. So this will help you if you hold your camera up. It'll kind of help you with that. I've not used this actually traveling. I've more tested it out, and I think we were somewhere and I did a route with it just to kind of see what it was like. Honestly, when I am out with my guide dog, especially, I'm so focused on working the dog that sometimes it's hard to pay attention to the GPS thing. If I have Apple Maps and I have an Apple Watch, it'll vibrate to tell me the next turn, things like that. But sometimes it can be difficult to pay attention to multiple things at once, especially if I've got to work the dog, pay attention to traffic and things like that. But Oko, I know several people have talked about using it. It's OKO. It's a good opportunity to kind of give you some information. Of course, Blind Square, that's another GPS app built for visually impaired people as well. I haven't really used Blind Square. I think I tested it out. Sam, yourself?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. I haven't used it myself, but I know that it's kind of a fan favorite in the community. A lot of people really like it.
Hmm. Yes, and the other thing I have here before I talk more about that, I have one written down, Explore, Good Maps. Did you give me
Hmm.
that one? Because I think I
Yeah,
wrote it down and forgot that I wrote it down.
yeah. So Good Maps, they're actually based pretty near close to me here in Kentucky. It's primarily an indoor navigation, so it uses lidar to map out a space, and then you can follow or navigate through that space using the app on your phone. But they do have an exterior navigation component to it as well.
Nice. So when it comes to this, Sam mentioned, Blind Square. He and I don't have much experience with it, but it's a fan favorite in the blind community. And you'll find with a lot of these apps, you will find one that works for you and you will stick with it. For example, and this is sort of an analogy, when my family and I moved to the city we live in, we found a Mexican restaurant that we tried and it was good. Was it the best Mexican restaurant around? Probably not, but it was good and we have stuck with it through thick and thin, prices raising, food food sizes going down. It's our place to go. And that's what happens when you find an app that really works for you, especially if you've gone through vision loss as you've gotten a little older. You'll find something and you're like, this works. I'm not learning another one and I'm going to stick with this. And you work through the quirks and the little things that the bugs and all these sort of things because, man, this app works exactly the way I need it to. And maybe that's Google Maps. Maybe that's Lazarillo. Maybe that's Oko, whatever it might be. it doesn't matter if it's like the best app ever. It matters if it's the best app for you. When it comes to guide dogs, it's the same way. I remember going and getting my dog, which, by the way, my guide dog is a black lab named Koa. That's Koa. He was such a wonderful dog. And I remember asking my trainer, you know what? You gave me the best dog in this class, didn't you? And she said, which was a very excellent answer. She said, I gave you the best dog for you. And that's how it is a lot of times. I'm sure out there, if you are a guide dog user, you know exactly what we're talking about. So, Deb, I'm going to pause here and
Yeah,
get a
good.
time check. And
A time check and a few questions. So, for your time check,
absolutely, that'd be great.
yeah, we're 20 minutes in, and so
Okay.
you're about a third of the way there. And we've had some conversation about Lazarillo, and someone
Okay.
asked if it was available in iOS, and I said that I didn't think it was, but someone else has said that it is. So I stand corrected on that. It's an excellent app,
Okay.
and it compares favorably with Blind Square. So either way, you could go
Wonderful.
that way. And then we also had a comment about the fact that Bookshare, back in your discussion of reading and other things apps, that Bookshare is
Hmm.
available to many California residents free through the California
Oh,
library program. So if you are part
oh,
of
wonderful.
that,
Lucky.
part of California, which many of our grads are, then you may be able to take advantage of that. So that was also commented.
Awesome. Were there any questions at this time, Deb?
No, just the question about Lazarillo, and we kind of straightened that out, and so we're good.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, if you have a question, you can leave it in the chat. And here in just a little bit, we will take time to answer questions on the mic. So if you have one of those, you can hit the raise hand button here in Zoom. All right. So far, we have talked about music apps, podcast apps, audiobooks apps, and GPS apps. So we're heading right down the list. Sam, do you need a water break or anything?
No, I'm good. Hanging in there.
Okay. Okay, awesome. All right, so right along with the GPS apps, we're hitting apps for orientation. Now, this is similar to GPS apps in the sense that they're going to help you figure out where you are, but they're not necessarily built for like Apple Maps or Google Maps. The first one I only have a couple listed here. I'm sure there's more, but the first one is Clue, and that's CLEW. Now, I had not heard of this app until Sam suggested it for this list, and I tried it the other day. It's a really neat app. My experience, I was using it in the builder can, and it's for indoor navigation, meaning it'll help you with a route. So let's say or a route, depending on where you're from. So if you start at a location and go to another location, let's say you're in a doctor's office and you start in the lobby and you go to the restroom, it'll help you track that and then get back to the lobby with vibrations and beeps and things like that. It's actually a very cool app. Sam, do you have experience with Clue?
Yes, yeah, I've played around with it a couple times, and you're right. And so as you're walking, it creates these waypoints. And then when you're backtracking, you follow it navigates you to each of these waypoints. And it's pretty good. Like I tested it in my house, and I've got a lot of turns and hallways and things, and it tells you when you need to, angle a little bit to your left. Okay, go straight. Angle a little bit to your right. And it's like you said, it's doing this all by beeps and vibrations and all of that. And it's really pretty accurate. It's I think of people in situations like the restaurant, your favorite Mexican restaurant. You could create a route to the restroom, and then independently go to the restroom, come back, or even much larger venues like a concert. You could create a route to the concession stand, and then if you needed to go, you could go independently and come back and find your seat. It'll navigate all the way right back to your seat. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I think there are so many different ways to use an app like that. I know in the app you can actually save routes. So if you go to
Mhm.
a place on a regular basis, you're going to go here again, you'll have that route. You can just do a single route where it's like, oh, I'm going to be at this place one time, so you can do that again. But yeah, it's a really neat thing because so often we get to a location and we're like, well, I'm stuck at this place because I'm not sure how to navigate back or to that location, like the restroom or something. I was thinking about being in the airport, and
Mhm.
I flew last year, and I was at the gate and I asked the gate attendant, hey, can you help me find the restroom? And he was very helpful, got me to the restroom. And it wasn't that far away, so I was able to find my way back fairly easily. However, if I had been in a location where I had to go down the hall and turn or whatever, Clue would have
Mhm.
definitely come in handy. So if you're out and about using something like that, it can definitely be helpful. The other app I have listed here is Soundscape. Now, I use Soundscape back when I think it first came out, and it basically is a similar idea. It helps kind
Right.
of orient you to your surroundings. Sam, have you tested out Soundscape as well?
Yes, yeah, it is very, very similar, kind of the same concept. And Soundscape originally was Microsoft, and then a Microsoft,
Mm.
not
Hmm.
really abandoned. Abandoned sounds negative, but they were done furthering the development of the app, and so they just dropped it. And a Scottish company swooped in, snagged it up, and have re-released it. So it is back out on the App Store, and it's available. And it works basically the same as it did when it was part of Microsoft.
A couple quick
Very
questions
nice.
there that we can
Sure
do.
did.
So a couple of people commenting about Soundscape being when it's reinitiated is not called Soundscape though now. Voice
Oh,
Vista, and there's another
Mm.
app as well. But I don't think Soundscape, according to what people are saying here, actually is currently itself searchable. The other item is
oh,
that uh, there's a comment about OCO and that they have adopted a subscription model now. And
Yes.
so to
mm.
be aware of that. And then also, Clue is now called Step Navigation, according to one of our. These things change, don't they?
Really?
And so that's some stuff our folks are catching us up with.
Really,
I
that's
wonder why they
interesting
changed the name.
because
That's yeah.
I, hmm, I downloaded Clue just the other day. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I downloaded Clue. I searched Clue, Clew, and it's even VoiceOver reads it as Clue, and so the app. So it may have changed its name, but yeah, it's still Clue, at least searchable as Clue, I would say. So, and s- I have it as an iOS app. I don't have it as an Android app anyway.
No, I think it's just iOS. Clue. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, lots of little, as technology goes on, like that was mentioned, Oko taking a subscription model, that's probably going to happen more and more. I feel like places are going to start taking subscription models because it's probably better for them in the long run. It's like, oh, we can make more money this way. Somebody will forget to cancel their subscription and it'll go on for years.
Mm.
It was so nice just to buy the app and have the service, but yeah, lots of opinions on that. We're not here to debate that necessarily, but always look out for those kinds of things when you're using an app, whether it has a subscription model, whether it has, in-app purchases and things like that. The next section I have here, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is somewhat controversial in the blind community right now. I've written down rideshare apps. Now, again, we could talk all day about Uber and Lyft and all the issues there. However, those apps are available. I know Uber and Lyft are fairly accessible apps if you can use those. Like I said, we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because of the issues that are out there right now with those rideshare companies, Uber, Lyft, and so forth. So, but if you are using those apps, I will say, at least from my experience, the apps have been fairly accessible when you want to get around. The next section I have is weather apps. Now, again, what we're talking about here is being out and about with our guide dogs, with our white canes, using those orientation and mobility skills, working our guide dogs, and just being out. It's not necessarily about travel specifically. It's about when we're outside, when we're with the community. And so sometimes it's nice to know, is it going to snow like it is apparently everywhere right now? I know I'm in the Midwest. Of course, Sam is right, not too far away from me, and it started snowing like I don't know earlier this afternoon, and I was like, I didn't know it was supposed to snow. And so these weather apps are very good to have. Sam, do you use a specific weather app?
I think it started snowing in October and it hasn't stopped.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
no, I don't actually. I'm super kind of simple on that. I ask Google, I ask Siri, I ask the A lady, and
Hmm.
just get that real quick information, and then I'm out the door.
That's right. I use the built-in weather app on the iPhone. There are other ones out there, and I'm sure you guys have used those. You participants here. Here's the thing about weather apps: we want to know, as Sam said, we got to get this information. We got to go. Sometimes we want to dive into the radar and what's going to happen in the next 7 to 10 days. We get in that, but when we're out and about, we just want to check. Hey, is it going to rain in the next 2 hours? That sort of thing. I remember when I was younger on Back to the Future Part 2, I remember it was raining when they went to 2015, and Doc Brown was like, "Oh, just hold on just a few seconds." And it stopped raining. He's like right on the button. It's not quite that accurate, but it's gotten a lot better over the years. So yeah, the weather app can be so helpful when you're out and about, and to know what to pack, especially if you have a guide dog, because you want to know if you need that rain jacket or those booties or whatever you have in your backpack. You want to make sure you have all of it, because just in case you want to throw that rain jacket in there. I mean, even when it's snowing, my black lab comes back in and you can see how much it's been snowing by how much he's covered. So packing that stuff, knowing the weather, so important. All right, and then the next category I have is AI. Now, AI is a hot topic right now. I mean, everybody and their brother has AI features popping up in their app, and that can be a good thing. That can be a bit nerve-wracking as well, but we've got a couple of things here for you. And I'm going to let Sam talk about this here in just a second as well, because he actually shared with me something that he's been trying out, and I want him to talk about that. But of course, there's things like Chat GPT, which is both desktop and has an app. I'm using an app called Ally, which is ALLY. Help me, Sam. Ally is made by, what is it?
Envision. Yep.
Envision, Vision. It is a sort of companion, but it is AI as well. You can talk to it. There is Google Gemini, and that's an AI as well. And then for us specifically, there's Be My Eyes. And Be My Eyes was an organization. It's a company that you can talk to a volunteer, a live person, and they'll help you, figure out, hey, what is this setting on my washer and dryer? But they also have an AI feature, Be My AI, and I found it works really well. So if it needs to describe something, then you can actually ask it questions like, hey, what does it say on this letter? Who's this letter from? You can ask it, and it'll give you that information. Speaking of which, Sam, would you share how you've been using it when you go out, especially to restaurants?
Yeah. So first of all, talking about AI and future assistive technology, probably my most favorite thing to talk about. But using AI, the beauty of it is it can be used for literally anything. Anything you need help with, it can do that. And it's only getting better. And the thing that I've been using it a ton for is, as you said, going out to restaurants, reading menus. So traditionally with other OCR devices, you take a picture and it starts reading top to bottom. And if I'm only interested in those quesadillas at Derek's favorite Mexican restaurant, then I have to sit there and listen to every single thing on that list until I hear the word quesadilla. But with AI, I can snap a picture. It'll give me a general summary. Most of them will just give me a summary. It says, hey, it looks like this is a menu for a Mexican restaurant. But then I can go in and ask those granular questions and specific questions like, okay, what kind of quesadillas do they have? Well, it looks like they have the fajita quesadilla. They've got the grande quesadilla. Okay, what comes on the grande quesadilla? Well, it looks like it's steak, chicken, or shrimp. It's just the information you want, you can get it. Well, that's fantastic. What kind of desserts does this place have? Oh, it looks like they've got fried ice cream. That's the beauty of AI is that, like I said, anything you want, whatever specific information you want, you can get it. And it works great.
Absolutely. I've been using ChatGPT for different things. I started using it on the desktop, and it's helped me with lesson plans. It's helped me with brainstorming different things. Obviously, using AI, there's a whole debate on, the ethics and so forth. However, I think it can be a great tool, especially for us VIPs and blind folks, because it can provide us information, not only give us the information, but as Sam said, provide it in a way that really works for us. I did this. Sam recommended this the other day when we were talking, and so I did it at a restaurant, and I was able to ask, like he said, what options do they have for these entrees, or what chicken options and things like that. And it was so like, wow, this is amazing. Be My Eyes was able to do it.
Hmm.
ChatGPT was able to do it. So
Ally can do it.
it's great. Yeah, Ally can do it absolutely. Ally's great because it'll take a picture and describe it. Like it's set up for visually impaired people. ChatGPT is accessible. Be My Eyes, all Ally, they're all accessible. ChatGPT has a couple of quirks, especially if you have bigger text, larger font. It'll scroll down and then trying to get back is a little bit quirky, but it does
Right.
work. It is accessible. So yeah, but it's great. They're free. Let me try again. ChatGPT has a paid option. Several of these, I'm sure, have a paid option, but they're all free if you want to use them. It's just with ChatGPT, for example, you might pay for the more premium service, if you will. But I've never had an issue using the free version of any
No.
of these apps. So they're all excellent, excellent options. Again, ChatGPT, Ally by Envision, Be My Eyes, the AI feature, Google Gemini is another one. So all great stuff.
Copilot.
I guess Copilot, is that Microsoft? Is that correct?
That's Microsoft. Yep.
Yeah, Copilot, all these great, great options. Of course, when we're talking to the A lady, Google, Siri, that's all kind of AI, if you will, a little bit, and they're always getting smarter, always helping. Of course, if you're using an iPhone 15 or 16, you've got Apple Intelligence, and it has its own quirks, of course, as they're working the bugs out. But Siri's gotten a lot better. It can use ChatGPT in Siri now, so that's very nice. So yeah, lots of options when it comes to AI.
Hmm.
That's the last category I have for apps. I'm going to have Sam reference. I'm going to give him time to think about this. I'm going to have him reference a device that he's been using, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. Now, we're not going into a lot of detail on devices today. We're just going to sort of plug this a little bit because in the future we might have more conversation about other devices. But these are a hot button issue right now, and I know lots of folks are talking about it. So I wanted Sam to give a little bit of information and impression. But a reminder, if you have a question, you can leave that in the chat. And if you'd like to ask a question on the microphone and hey, hear my voice, it's wonderful, then please hit the raise hand button in Zoom, and we'll be able to get you on there and have this great conversation. So, Sam, let me throw it to you. Give us a little bit of information, your sort of take on this whole Meta Ray-Ban glasses, especially for the VIPs.
Sure. Yeah. So I put my Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses on. So I'm currently wearing them. And the benefit of the Ray-Ban sunglasses, smart sunglasses, is simply the hands-free component. The Meta AI is the AI component in Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses, and it's very similar to what we were just talking about, what ChatGPT, Copilot, Ally. So you can get very similar results. The benefit of this, though, is that it is hands-free. These are wireless headphones that Bluetooth to your device, so they kind of tie in with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. Just about every app we've been talking about, you can use with these glasses, as far as listening to music, listening to audiobooks, getting that turn-by-turn navigation, and it's all wireless, hands-free. Um, but when you need that AI component, when you need help asking those questions, that's really where the power of this comes in for our community and the ease of being hands-free. Especially with this group we're talking to today, you guys are usually holding on to a harness with one hand, maybe holding on to a purse or some groceries in the other hand, or your smartphone in the other hand. So having the ability to access this AI hands-free comes in very handy. Now, talking about quirks and quirkiness of AI, the Meta AI does have some issues, not really issues, but some things that you have to be aware of and kind of work with, where it very much summarizes the response for you. So if I ask it what's in front of me, it might say like 2 or 3 things that are in front of me. It just gives me the basic information. And if I want more detailed information, I have to give it a follow-up prompt or question. Um, ChatGPT, some of these other ones, they give you just a wealth of information with the response. And some people might like that. I know a lot of situations I prefer that, but sometimes you might not need all that information. So in that case, Meta is good there. You can always ask the follow-up questions and get the extra information you need. But for like reading, if I say, what does this sign say? It's just going to summarize it. It's not going to read it from top to bottom. But I can go in and ask it, prompt it to do that for me if I want to. So the benefit of this is a lot of these devices, like the Envision glasses, like the Orcam, a lot of these OCR devices in the assistive technology world are very expensive. And Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses, they're not cheap by any means, but they are much more affordable. So it's a much more affordable option to get hands-free AI that is only getting better. They are currently they are releasing a new update that is live video AI. So it's almost like you're doing a video call with the AI. So instead of me asking a question, it takes a picture. We sit here and wait for it to process, and then I get the information. It's a continuous live video, and I can keep asking questions and asking follow-up questions. And okay, what does this say? Oh, what about this? And it's just much quicker to interact with. So they're constantly updating it, and it's only getting better. So if you have the means, definitely recommend checking them out.
Awesome. Sam, let me ask you, obviously there's all the technology built in. How are they as actual just sunglasses?
Well, they're Ray-Ban, so they're kind of the stereotypical Ray-Ban style, which is not my personal favorite. I'm central vision loss. You and I are both central vision loss, peripheral vision only. So I would much prefer wraparound sport style. I'm getting ready to test a pair of smart glasses that are wraparound style. Little preview for what's coming up on the Blind Life, but but other than that, they're fine. The sunglasses are not too dark. I was very happy about that. They do offer sunglasses, they offer transition lenses, and they offer just clear lenses. So several different varieties.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I know Sam has done a few videos about the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So if you want to check that out, visit The Blind Life on YouTube. And of course, he's going to have more coming up with those, as well as the new ones he's testing and other stuff coming up. So check that out. Always does a great job. In fact, that's how Sam and I met when I was doing YouTube videos at the time. He had done a video about the Keurig. I don't know if you remember this, Sam. He had done a video about the Keurig. I had done one about the Keurig. Just totally circumstance that we did it at the same time. That was purely coincidental. But he reached out and I reached out, and we found out we actually live pretty close to each other. So he's actually visited my house, and it's, but yeah, Sam does a wonderful job there on YouTube. So check that out. All right, Deb, I sort of reached where we have a natural concluding place here.
We have a question in the chat about, can you use standard AI apps with the glasses? Like, can you use Chat GTP with the Meta glasses?
So yes and no. So currently, no. They don't. It doesn't support using Chat GPT or any of those other AI applications, but you can use Be My Eyes. Now, it's currently the call a volunteer portion of Be My Eyes, service of Be My Eyes. It's not the AI service, but Be My Eyes is on board. Ira is on board. So they are constantly adding these new services that will work with the glasses. So I'm confident very, very soon they probably will. Be My Eyes will probably put its Be My AI on there. But the glasses that I was mentioning before, and there's another pair of smart glasses that are very similar to Ray-Ban, but even cheaper, they do use ChatGPT. So if it's not Ray-Ban, you can get some smart glasses that work very similarly that do use ChatGPT.
Awesome. All right. We got any other questions, Deb?
So we do have several hands raised. So if you're ready for those, maybe we'll just go there. Is that good?
Sounds great.
Okay. So I'm going to be opening up a person or two at a time, just so you're aware. And so as you unmute, just be quiet to deal with that. And so I have opened up Lauren and also the entire Crescendo Community Chorus. So
Wow.
If Lauren, if you're unmuted, you can. It does looks like you're not, but how about and we'll do Judy. There, Lauren, looks like you're ready to go. You're unmuted.
I think Judy is unmuted.
I'm
Yeah,
unmuted. Yes,
yeah,
I'm
Judy is also. Yeah, go ahead, Judy.
okay. Engage brain before mouth. Sorry.
No pressure.
Sam, one of my questions was about the meta glasses. As the technology changes, you don't have to upgrade your glasses or anything. The new technology, it downloads to your glasses, correct?
Correct. Yes. They are updating the glasses pretty often, and
Yes.
that is just software. So there's no hardware changes right now. I don't foresee them doing that anytime soon. I mean, the camera works great. It's a pretty simple design. It's a proven design. It's actually the glasses have been around for several years now. It's just that the AI component is new, and so it's kind of thrown some life into the glasses
Yeah.
recently. But yeah, it's just software updates.
Okay. I was kind of holding out for about 6 months, but there really isn't a need to. And to just update you, I happened to see Carry On Accessibility just today, and the live video, it
Yeah,
was working on her glasses.
yeah,
And
you can. I think I don't know. I didn't finish watching the video, but she may be a beta tester. Beta testers are getting it early.
oh,
I
you
am
know
not.
what? You could be right. It
Yeah,
sounded to me like she may have been a bit. I wondered as well. Yes.
yeah. Because as soon as I saw her post that, I'm like, I went to my glasses and checked, and I still don't have it on mine.
Got it.
But also, to your point of waiting and purchasing, and this is good information for everybody, you can actually get the glasses through insurance. If you have vision insurance that allows you to get a pair of prescription glasses each year, Lens Crafters sells the Ray-Ban smart glasses. So you can get them at a really good discount through your insurance going through Lens Crafters.
That's great information. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Judy. We appreciate it. All right. Yeah, Deb, I think you mentioned looks like Lauren and the Crescendo, both of them are still muted. So if you
Yeah, they are
guys
muted.
are
They have been
Yeah.
allowed to talk, but you need to press your unmute button on your screen.
Hello.
There you go. You did.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is that the
I'm
Crescendo?
traveling to Europe next week. Do you have a suggestion for a travel app, GPS app that works internationally?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Well,
that is an
I'm sure the
excellent
native
question.
ones
Portugal and
will.
Spain.
Yeah,
I-
as Sam said, I think the native ones probably would work. Apple, Google, things like that. I think that's probably your best bet to stay as in the know as much as possible. Would you think so, Sam?
Yes, yeah, and if you don't have the phone plan, you'll definitely want to get one of those traveling international uh add-ons to your phone plan so you don't get hit with a ton of roaming charges and all of that.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, something to think about is make sure to talk to your cell phone provider because that could be a big bill that you were not expecting. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
stick with the mainstream apps if you can. Some of those other apps may work, but you don't want to be caught off guard, especially in a foreign country. Thanks
Vicky.
for your question.
Excuse me, I didn't know if my voice was even going to work here. Hi there. I'm just wondering, you mentioned another company that also does smart glasses.
Yes.
Are there are other companies then?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think it's called Solos, 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 um, which is reads the same forwards or backwards now that I think about it, Solos.
It's palindrome.
Palindrome, yes. So I think that's the name of the company that has very similar. There's another company, and gosh, I'm totally blanking on the name. Gary did an interview with the owners of the company that they are putting out their sunglasses almost identical to Ray-Ban, but made for the visually impaired community, a little bit more expensive. So in my opinion, I just stay with the Ray-Bans. If you're kind of looking at that smart glasses, but yeah, Solos, you could look at their website and see if that looks good to you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for your question.
All right. That looks like all of the questions in the that part of the questions. We do have another comment over in the chat area, and that was about OCO and the fact that when you this person's experience is that if you have interference, things that go between OCO and the thing it's looking at, like a traffic light, that it may impact the accuracy of the app.
Yes.
And so they wondered if you had
Yes.
thoughts about that.
Yeah, it's definitely line of sight. In fact, the two gentlemen that created it, they're from Belgium. They actually they were doing a tour of the U.S. and they came to my city, and we went downtown and tried it out. And that was one of the things I asked them about it. I said, well, what if you're standing kind of in the back and there's a crowd of people in front of you, or there's a bus in front of you? And they said, yes, it's line of sight. So you have to try and get to a clear vantage point for the camera to see. The camera has to see the light across the street for it to work properly. So that's definitely something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point, Sam. I think that's the way it is, not just specifically with an app like that, but every app is going to have its limitations. Whether it's AI or GPS or music or podcast, they're all going to have some sort of limitation, meaning it's not going to do everything you hoped it would do and more. That's why we have multiple apps on our phones. In fact, if you go through, I bet many of you have, 3 or 4 pages of apps, most of which you probably haven't referenced in a while, because if you're like me, you download the app, you test it out, and then you forget about it, and then there's 12 apps on your phone you haven't used in 2 years. But we often download these apps. I typically prefer an app that does one thing really well. Give me a podcast app, something like Spotify that's trying to be a podcast app, an audiobook app, a music app. It's doing okay, but I much prefer the app that does one thing and does it well. What about you, Sam, in that regard?
No, it kind of it's the same philosophy when I talk about assistive devices. When I do a review of a video magnifier, for example, and so many people in the comments will say, well, my phone can do that. Why would I need that? My phone can do it. And I say, yes, but your phone is amazing. In fact, smartphones, in my opinion, are the greatest piece of assistive technology that we have, because they can do so many things really well, but they do so many things really well, but they don't do one thing perfectly. So a device that was built for one specific task is always going to do it better than a smartphone that, is just running an app. So it's kind of the same thing. Yes. Yeah. Everything's going to have the little quirks that you kind of have to figure out and work around and figure the best way to deal with it. But at the end of the day, when you need it, it's good to have it there ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to even like magnifiers, I have an iPad that has a magnification app on it. I've got a stand, and there's different opportunities to use it in that way. It becomes almost a CCTV, which in the past, all those years ago when I lost my sight, and of course, I'm sure Sam remembers this back in the golden age. I'm sorry, the Stone Age. I'm sorry, Anyway, I'm sure he remembers using all those big chunky monitors, with the big CCTVs, and now it's simplified down to this thing that fits in your backpack. And so technology has come so far that our smartphones and our laptops and our iPads and things like that will do all these things, do them well. But as Sam said, some of those things are built for visually impaired people with tactile buttons and so forth. So yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. It's the age-old question about iPhone or Android. It's like, well, whatever works best for you, kind of like whatever app works best for you. Find that, use it, and use it to the fullest, so that when you're listening to podcasts or audiobooks or music, you are enjoying it. You're getting the information you wanted, because that's the thing about using a guide dog, a cane. I know Sam is a cane user. I'm a guide dog user. It's about accessing the world around us. And it doesn't matter where you're going or what you're doing. You want to be part of this crazy world that we live in. And the things like O&M and guide dogs and canes, they give us the ability to go out and to do those things. And our smartphones and these apps also give us the ability to connect with the world around us, whatever that may be. So I'm going to go ahead and say, man, we've had a great time here tonight. Deb, is there anything else we need to cover?
Yes, we have two things you could cover. Or you could talk about
Okay.
LiDAR on the newer iPhones, whether that's useful or projected to be useful. And you could also talk about the Apple Intelligence. People have asked, are you finding any features of that? I think it's still in beta, right? But are you finding any features of that to be useful?
Sure. So let's hit the Apple Intelligence first. So I've tried it out. Obviously, when you enable Apple Intelligence, your Siri gets updated. My wife asked me the other day, when you have Siri updated, it has this like kind of rainbowy thing that frames the screen when Siri comes on. And she said, "How do you do that? I want that." I was like, "Well, your phone doesn't do that. Sorry."
Not cool enough.
But yeah, yeah, that's right. You got to be cool. But Siri gets updated, and like I said, it can use ChatGPT, which I found very beneficial and very helpful. Some of the other features of Apple Intelligence, for example, the writing prompts or summarizing things, those can come in handy, but I have not found them to be any better or anywhere close necessarily to ChatGPT or things of that nature. So while it's good that it is baked in to the iPhone, I think like with anything, it's going to get better. As Deb said, it's in beta and testing out the waters and things like that. So I haven't found a ton of features that I'm like, oh, this is it. The Siri update is probably the best. And it can help you if you want to write an email, give you some your recommendations, or if you're writing a note and you want it summarized, things like that, which all the other AIs can do as well. But because it's built in, that is where it will come in handy. And I think it's going to get better in the future. Sam, have you played with it much, or are you not cool?
I have, yeah. I've I agree with you. I love the new Siri animation. It's much easier to see with low vision that Siri has been triggered. And then Siri being able to talk to ChatGPT, that's really the only benefit I found out of all of the AI stuff on the iPhone so far, is that kind of the same thing we are talking about. You can take a picture of your menu and now Siri will send it off to ChatGPT and ChatGPT will tell you what's in the picture. So similar to what we were talking about with the other apps, Siri can do that now. The other stuff, like you can create these AI generated emojis, and I'm just not using that stuff.
Yes.
It's not great for low vision, and VoiceOver doesn't work with everything yet. There's a lot of graphical elements on screen that VoiceOver just does not get triggered, does not land on. So yeah, I think for me personally, the Siri integration with ChatGPT is the best thing right now for us.
Yes, there is an app on there called Playground, and I've played around with it. I made one that looked, because it'll take pictures of that you have your photos. So I took one, and it took my wife and made her face, and which looked kind of cartoony, which was kind of creepy. But you can put different things. She had a hat and put her in a snowman background or whatever. So it's kind of like, I don't know, gimmicky a little bit at this point. Is it possible to be used in the future as something interesting? Maybe. And I think they're just trying to test those waters. How much would you use this right now? None. I used it for the 10 minutes to make that thing. And while it was accessible, it's not like it was, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. So yeah, I think with anything like that, you're going to find uses for it that work for you, and then the rest are not. Just like you're going to find apps that work for you, and then the rest, it doesn't matter. I think the other question was talking about LiDAR on the iPhone. I think with all those things, it's kind of like that's kind of the idea of OCO, with, trying to get the distance and things like that. So I think as the phones become more, I don't know, friendly to what we use it for, then we're going to find more uses for the things that the hardware has. So while I don't necessarily have a specific recommendation on how it's going to be helpful to us, I'm sure that measuring distance and using it in lower light and things like that can only be beneficial to apps that are helpful to blind and visually impaired people. What do you think about that, Sam?
Yeah, so there's already some use for the LiDAR. And in fact, if you go into the magnifier app on iPhones that support the LiDAR or iPads, there are some new accessibility features you can use. And like you said, it's kind of surrounding the LiDAR being able to judge distance. So it'll tell you how far away a person is from you. And it's a lot of fun actually to play hide and seek with a blind person. We were playing this at my office, where I went and stood in the conference room, and I just stood very quietly. And my boss came in, who was almost completely blind, and she had to use the phone and the LiDAR to find me. And so it worked great. It told her how far I was and where I was and all of that. So
We use
yeah,
it to
so
find my guide dog, so it is very fun for hide and seek. I will say that.
Yeah.
yeah. But a more practical use is, you're standing in line, and how far away am I from the person in front of me?
Yeah.
Did that person
Mm-hmm.
move up? Am I just standing here alone like a little island in this because everybody's left? So you could use it for things like that.
Yeah. By the way, air tags are good for finding your dog too. Just so
There you go.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All
There
right,
good
we
uses
are
for the
out of
things.
time, guys, but this has been
Oh, man.
amazing. So thank you so
Good.
much for everything. and
Absolutely. I
thanks
want to
to
thank
everyone for coming.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thank to all the folks who came and listened. A big shout out to my friend Sam. Again, go check him out on YouTube at The Blind Life. He's got lots of great stuff coming down the pike. I know he does wonderful things. And so, Sam, thank you so much for being here tonight and providing your expertise.
My pleasure, Derek. Thanks for inviting me. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a big shout out to Deb for handling the chat and the questions. I really appreciate that. And thanks so much for joining us here on the wonderful time we've had here tonight on What the Tech. And stay tuned for more great things when it comes to these speaker series, because Guide Dogs for the Blind is always looking to help its alumni. And we're happy that you are part of the family. Thanks so much. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.